Spirituation and justice to God's people. The New Jerusalem is coming. I'm DJ Kazar, the Deep Space Quasar, coming at you live here from our studios in Tucson, Arizona. And I am blessed to be joined in studio, live and in person, with a truly unique and controversial figure. We've been talking earlier for the last couple days here and had a chance to get to know each other. But for those of you who don't know, there's a gentleman by the name of Sam Childers. He's also known as the Machine Gun Preacher because of his extreme ministry in Africa. You might have become familiar with Sam Childers' work through a popular film, came out in 2011, starring Gerard Butler, where he played the title character, the Machine Gun Preacher. Well, he's a real man doing real work, and he's here with me in studio this afternoon. He's going to be having an appearance, giving a couple talks here in southern Arizona on Monday night, November 13th at the Sea of Glass Center for the Arts right here next to our studios, and Tuesday night in Rio Rico on November 14th at the grand opening of the Global Temple at Avalon Organic Gardens and Eco Village. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about that here, but I want to get a brief introduction to this great godly man, and I'm looking forward to sitting down and talking with him a little bit about what he's doing. Mr. Sam Childers, how are you this afternoon?
Good. It's good to be back in Tucson. I've been here several times over the years and always loved the place.
Cool. Oh, so tell me, what's going on in your life, first of all?
I went into Africa 28 years ago on a mission trip thinking I was going to get God off my back. I had a prophecy that I was to be a missionary, that I was to move to Africa, I'd be involved in a war, and I went home that night angry because I knew it was true. And I laid in bed that whole night and I cried, and I went on for a couple years knowing that it was true. And I mean, it was like a torture in my mind and in my heart. So I started putting money into Africa, thinking, well, God would rather have my money. And one year I put about $20,000, and we're talking back in like 96, 97. So it's a lot of money now, but back then that was a lot of money. And I literally went home that night. I stood out on my porch and I said, God, wouldn't you rather have my money? Look at the money I just put into helping the work in Africa. And I could hear him say, no, I need you. So in 1997, I went on my first mission trip, 97, 98. And when I went on that mission trip, it was a 5-week mission trip, and I literally said to myself, I'll get God off my back as soon as I come home. I'll say, God, I did what you wanted me to do. But what he wanted me to do was to walk away from my life and serve in the mission field.
Wow.
Well, when I was on the 5-week mission trip, I come across a village that was raided and people were killed, and I come across hundreds of bodies just dead, And we were looking for children that may have been hiding, me and a few soldiers. And I come across the body of a small child that was blown up by a landmine, and from the waist down was gone. And I stood over that child and I said, God, I'll do whatever it takes to help these people. And I didn't realize what I was saying till about 10 years ago. I was in the mission field about 18 years at that time. But I'm in the mission field now. I'm full-time in the mission field. The work has really, really grew.
That's really, it's such a compelling beginning to your story. When I was reflecting today, because we got a chance to talk a little bit yesterday, and I was thinking about what would I want to talk with Sam Childers about, and what kind of things. Because I'm sure you get a lot of questions that are like,
right.
What was it like to have Gerard Butler play on the big screen? Things like that. And what really occurred to me is I wanted to talk to you about God's will.
Yeah.
Because that's what really compelled me. And something that we don't shy away from here on KVAN. When is it, you mentioned yesterday about not being able to out outrun God or maybe doing his work?
Well, I think the biggest thing that as Christians or non-Christians, there's a lot of non-Christians out there that they believe in God, but they don't serve God. So you need to realize whether you believe in God or you don't believe in him, that God's not going to give us any more than we can handle. And there's several scriptures to back that up.
Yeah.
So I firmly believe that God won't give you any more than you can handle. So take care of what you got. We have 5 working children's homes and orphanages. And a number of years ago, God said to me, if you're just going to build another orphanage, why don't you go home? And I didn't realize what he meant. So I had to start getting closer to him to understand. In a third world country, if you're 15 years old, you have to leave the orphanage you're in. Now, ours is not like that. Ours is 18 years old. But what happens is these children are not fully educated, so 70% of them will end up in prostitution, and they'll end up dying of AIDS, they'll end up dying of disease, violent crimes. So God said to me, what have you really done by building another orphanage? So I take this to churches around the world, because more than 90% of your orphanages are built by the church. But what I say to the church, what have we really done? Building another orphanage. You feel good, but did you really do good? No. So we started a number of years ago teaching skills and trades. Now I believe it's God first, Christ first, and then I believe education is second. But teaching a skill and a trade is the biggest thing you can do to change a nation. So we started I started a restaurant that done very well, had over 200 young people go through that restaurant learning to be a chef, prep chef, waiter, waitress. So then I started a commercial farm. That farm was roughly a little over 200 acres. Now it's over 1,200 acres. This is our 6th year of giving away our entire main harvest every December. So last year, just to give you a little bit of what we do, last year we gave away 90 ton of rice, 16 ton of beans and lentil, 8 ton of maize, butchered 20 cows and massive beef cows, butchered 20 cows, not including the sheep that we gave away. So this year we believe we're going to at least do that or more. So through all the businesses that we were able to create over the years, we have over 700 people on a payroll. We built 7 schools over the years. We're building number 8 school now, and the work keeps growing and growing. I mean, a lot of times when people hear what we're doing, they say, you got to be kidding me. How can you do it? It takes a lot of good people, A
lot of good people and the divine providence alongside you. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of it as well. So as for those of you just joining me here, I'm talking with Sam Childers, the real machine gun preacher. He's going to be giving a talk here in Tucson at the Sea of Glass Center for the Arts Monday night, Monday, November 13th here in Tucson, and Tuesday night, November 14th in Rio Rico, about 45 minutes south of Tucson, at the Global Temple at Avalon Organic Gardens in Eco Village. I want to let you know that the information for both of those appearances is on our website, KVAN.fm. They're right there next to each other, side by side. So if you're interested in the Tucson one or the Rio Rico one, you can click on the links right there on our website, KVAN.fm. Sam, let me ask you this. Why should somebody come out to hear you speak on Monday or Tuesday night?
I don't believe it's about the work that I do in Africa. I believe that the message that I carry around the world is a message of hope. And that message of hope is to motivate you, And I think if people really knows who Sam Childers is, people around the world, they think they can't accomplish anything because they're not educated. They think they can't accomplish anything because of their past. Maybe they were in prison. Maybe they was a drug addict. And all of those things is who I was. But, did I go back to school? No. But see, God can be the educator, and I give all the credit. I'm very successful. I'm a very successful man. I'm not a millionaire, but I know how to make money, but I give all that credit to God. If you look at, I have no education, not even high school education, but I do seminars in universities around the world. They'll pay me $10,000. I think the most I got paid for 30-minute lecture was $15,000, and they'll fly me in business class, and they're listening to a man that has no college education, no education at all, and people say, "Well, how did you do all this?" And for me, there's a lot of ways to success, a lot of different ways to success, but mine was through God, And so I got to give him all the credit. I mean, there was a time in my life I was not only into drugs, I was a drug addict, but along with no education and starting drugs at a very young age, I couldn't read or write. So I got 2 books out. I got a 3rd book that comes out in April, and every one of my books, my first book sold over 1 million copies, and people say, how can that happen? God,
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that brings me back to what we were talking about earlier about God's will. I love your idea, what you shared about. And I think that this is common with a lot of people who kind of feel the initial, impetus to want to to want to do something for God. But then they'll place their own conditions on it. I'm going to give you my money. Yeah. Like you said, when God wants everything. And it speaks to what we often share about here on KVAN is like a spiritual revolution. Right. Really embracing a greater sense of spirituality in our lives.
Well, at the time that God put the calling on me to go to Africa, I had every reason not to go. In the world today, I know missionaries. I am a full-time missionary. I've been a missionary for 28 years. And a lot of times missionaries will go to the mission field because they don't like to work. A lot of time missionaries will be lazy, so they don't want to work, But I had every reason not to go. I had a successful construction company. I had a real estate company. I owned 17 houses in 8 stores when God called me to the mission field. So I had a camper trailer, I had motorcycles, 4-wheelers, I had a gun collection. I used to do 3 hunting trips a year. I mean, I was a successful businessman. I'm 61 years old now, so you do the math. I was around 30, 31 years old when I went to the mission field. My life was planned out. I was going to retire at 50 years old. Now I'm 61 and I'm just tired, Yeah. But what's so crazy, everything that I gave up and walked away from, God replaced 10 times, over 10 times. Like right now, as I said, with all the businesses that we have created, we're in a 3rd world country showing people you don't have to leave East Africa to be successful, to make money. You can make money in East Africa. And I do business conferences around the world. And people say to me all the time, well, how can you do business conferences? Because I'm successful at business, I have proven that you can make money inside of East Africa, and I'm not buying and selling diamonds, I'm farming, I run one of the top 10 security companies. I have a construction company, supermarket, fuel station. We have the largest American style truck stop. I love to tell this one because Shell is like the largest fuel company in the world. Shell used to have the largest American-style truck stop in East Africa. And I always tell people until my God got involved. See, when my God got involved, we started out with 10-acre fuel station. Now it's 60-plus acres. It has 27 hotel rooms that go from $10 a night to $100 a night. It has a supermarket, has a hardware store, has an auto mechanic, has a paint store or a paint shop. It has a welding shop, a tire shop. And I'm right now we're in the middle of building a American-style strip mall that will create 30 more jobs. Now, I believe if you want to change a nation, takes Christ first, then education. But thirdly, it takes creating jobs, So we feel by the end of next year, we should be about 750 to 800 people on a payroll. Now, in Africa, Africa's different than America. If you can create one full-time job for an African, full-time job, he's going to use his money to take care of 6 to 8 people. So if you get 1,000 people working, okay, you're taking care of 8,000 people. That's changing a nation.
Absolutely. So I'm talking with Sam Childers, the machine gun preacher. Again, he's going to be talking this Monday, November 13th, here in Tucson at the Sea of Glass Center for the Arts. That's 330 East 7th Street, just off of 4th Ave. He's also going to be talking about 45 minutes south of Tucson in Rio Rico on Tuesday, November 14th. We got links to both of those talks at our website, KVAN.fm, for more information. You can get tickets online there, and all the tickets and proceeds go to these great works. Now, when I made my first introduction, Sam, I said, that you were a very controversial figure. However, in talking to you, you're talking about making jobs and putting in businesses in Africa, which is a beautiful thing, a great thing. It's world changing. Why are you such a controversial figure?
Okay, to this day, I run and own and operate one of the top 10 security companies in East Africa. That's what I do for a living. I'm 61 years old. I'm known to be one of the oldest Americans to still serve actively in a war zone. What do I mean by that? I don't talk about violence because violence does not glorify Jesus Christ. But I still suit up in uniform, strap a gun on, and go into war zones and rescue children. That's what our ministry is all about, saving children. So, anytime you mix God with a gun, everyone gets a little bit upset and worried and concerned, But I mean, I think I just told someone the other day, if somebody was breaking into your house tonight and you heard them outside of the window talking about how they're going to rape your children, how they're going to rob you, beat you up, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to pick up the phone and you're going to call the police. You're calling a man with a gun. So if you're a Christian, wouldn't you want that man with a gun to be born again? So I just so happen to be the man with a gun that's born again, So I mean, it's not like we're out there with a plan to shoot people. That's not our plan. Our plan is to save people.
That's beautiful, because, as I understand it, there are things much worse than what you mentioned going on currently in Sudan, in Uganda.
If you look at our real mission is to rehabilitate children and youth. We have a new project. It's been going on about 2.5 years. I'm going to really talk about on Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to show a video on it. It's called the Bush Kids Project. We go deep into the bush. We take doctors, we take nurses, we take a blood lab, we take a security team, which is me and a few guys. We take medicine, and we begin treating children for malaria and bacteria infections. If you Google malaria just in East Africa alone, now some statistics are way higher than I'm going to tell you, but they say a child dies every minute, malaria. So, I mean, that project has really expanded. It started out just children only, but now we're treating all ages, from the youngest all the way up to elderly people. That project has saved thousands of lives. Every month, we deworm the entire village. A lot of people don't realize in a third world country, you got worms that are killing people because they get inside of the people and they'll eat you alive, So we deworm the entire village. So we're saving thousands of people on this one project that runs us about $300,000 a year. That's only the Bush Kids Project. Another project that we do is drilling water wells. We have drilled way over 60 wells over the years. This year so far, because of our sponsors, our supporters, we've been averaging 2 wells per month in 2023. So, I mean, we've been really blessed. But what people don't realize, the government don't tell us where to drill these wells. We have runners out there looking where people only have shallow wells and they're dying of parasites and bacteria from water. So we come in and we drill a deep well. Our deep wells is giving fresh water, clean water, safe water to anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 people. So we're doing 2 of them a month. A deep well runs us because of the materials that we use, how we case it, materials that don't rust. They run us between $8,000 to $10,000 for a well. So there's so much people can get involved with. And keep in mind, when you hear all the work that we do, our feeding programs, over 10,000 meals a day, that's not done by me. It's done by people out there that's listening to us right now. It's done by sponsors. It's done by supporters, That's how it's all done.
It's beautiful to bring the team element in, It's not just one. I mean, your book is called One Man's War.
Yeah.
But certainly more than one man working it, making it happen. Again, I'm for those of you just tuning in, I am speaking with Sam Childers, who is also known as the Machine Gun Preacher. And I want to invite you all to come and hear him speak here at the Sea of Glass Center for the Arts. It's adjacent to our studio here in Tucson. He's going to be talking Monday night, November 13th, here in Tucson, 330 East 7th Street. He also has a subsequent evening down in Rio Rico at the Global Temple at Avalon Organic Gardens and Eco Village. This is actually the grand opening of the Global Temple, and we're going to have a lot more great events that are coming to the Global Temple here coming up in the months ahead. So do keep your eyes open for more events and happenings down there at the Global Temple, about 45 minutes south of Tucson in Rio Rico, Arizona, at Avalon Organic Gardens and Eco Village. Again, that's Tuesday, November 14th, and here in Tucson, Monday, November 13th. Links to both of those appearances are on our website, KVAN.fm. They're side by side there, so you can click on whichever link you're interested in, KVAN.fm. Sam, I just want to close it up with going back to, kind of the main topic of what we talked about, of doing God's will, because you've mentioned a couple times and in a couple of your stories, you've talked about really hearing from God. And
Absolutely.
What is that process for you?
I speak a lot of how do you know God's speaking to you?
Yeah.
And I believe there's 3 ways that you will know it's God. And the one that I speak a lot on is you don't want to do it. If you think you're hearing from God and you're all happy about what He has you doing, it's probably not God. Now, I'm not saying it's not a good thing. I'm not saying it's bad for you to do it. Please don't misunderstand me, I don't want to mislead you. I'm not telling you not to do something that's good for other people. But when it's God really speaking to you, you got to remember it's His plan, not your plan. I mean, the last thing I wanted to do was to go to Africa when I was successful. You're not talking about a man that don't have a job. You're not talking about a man that didn't have money in the bank. You're not talking about a man that didn't have a successful business.
Or a man who thought to himself, right, I'm going to go change Africa.
I had it all happening.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, there was a time in my life I could walk into a store, buy any pair of jeans I wanted. There was a time in my life I never looked at the price on a pair of boots. I would walk into a restaurant. I never looked at the price on the menu. I bought what I wanted. And then all of a sudden, I go to Africa, walk away from everything I had, sold everything I had, and I'm going to Salvation Armies and wearing other people's boots that got holes in them. I remember a guy told about the first time he seen me in Africa 18 years ago, 20 years ago, and he said he had a pair of jeans on that was holes all in them, and they weren't designer jeans either, you know. So in 2 years, I went from on top down to the bottom. But after 28 years of sacrifice, being steadfast and not quitting, not leaving, you know, I had over $30 million go through my hands, and I never stopped. You know, people said to me when the movie come out, Sam, just walk away from it now. You're famous. See, for the rest of my life, I could walk away tomorrow. I'm always going to be the machine gun preacher, but I can't because it's God's calling. So that's why it's not about God blessing you. It's about being in God's favor. When you get in God's favor, you can't get there unless you hear from God. And it's most likely something you don't want to do. But after 28 years, I'm living the dream now.
I love it. I love it. That very much echoes our station's founder, Van. It's called KVAN, right?
Praise God.
Yeah, and Van talks all the time about his own struggles and sacrifices of coming to that point in his life. Much of his music that we play here on KVAN is that very thing, coming to the fork in the road, and more often than not, seeing that the one that God wants you to take is the one that you don't want to take. I love it. It's perfect.
Praise
what you
God.
shared is right on. I look forward. I think that you and Van are going to have a wonderful conversation.
Keep in mind, we're always looking for young missionaries. So keep that in mind.
All right.
All right.
Well, we'll continue. Maybe some future young minister will show up tomorrow, or I'm sorry, on Monday or Tuesday night. Because,
absolutely.
We've definitely been getting the word out there and wanting people to show up, and yeah, you never know what's around the corner.
Praise God.
I think that the Lord works in mysterious ways.
We got some at the school that we're building right now. I know we're running out of time. The school that we're building right now is going to be a school 5 days a week, but on Saturday is going to be a marketplace, and then on Sunday is a church. And what the most awesome thing is, we got sponsors that wants to feed every person that comes to church on Sunday. So there's a lot of awesome things that's happening. And then here's what's so awesome. You have to pay to put your children in the school, but it's not money. You can pay by a couple of chickens. You can pay by a sack of corn. You know, you can pay from whatever you're growing, sweet potatoes on your land, you know. So we're trying to build a school that's going to meet the needs of the people.
That's beautiful.
You know, yeah. So a lot of awesome things going on.
Yeah, getting out of the strictly monetary system and back into a true exchange.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Praise God.
That's great. Well, my friends, again, one last time, I want to let you know you've been hearing the voice of Sam Childers, the machine gun preacher. We've been blessed here yesterday and today to be spending some time with him, and he's going to be around town here for the next couple days because he's going to be speaking at the Sea of Glass Center for the Arts, right adjacent to our studio here on 7th Street, 330 East 7th Street, on Monday night, November 13th here in Tucson, and Tuesday night, November 14th in Rio Rico, Arizona, at the Global Temple, which is at Avalon Organic Gardens and Eco Village. This is the grand opening of the Global Temple, so we're really happy to have Sam join us for that beautiful event and bringing this powerful edifice, into the public eye. And it's a blessing to have him join us for that celebration and that event on Tuesday night. Both events, 7:30 p.m. at the Sea of Glass, and for the Global Temple of Divine Administration at Avalon Organic Gardens and Eco Village. That one starts at 7 p.m. November 14th. You can get links to both of these appearances on our website, kvan.fm. And again, all the proceeds for the ticket sales go to Sam's good work in Africa with all of his organizations, the Bush Kids, the Angels of East Africa, other organizations that are all part under his umbrella, the Machine Gun Preacher. And any other closing thoughts,
Yeah,
Sam? I
got a small challenge for everybody out there that's listening.
Sounds good.
I know and I believe that there's thousands that are listening from all over the place, but I want you to take the afternoon or tomorrow or the next day, call at least 5 or 6 people that you know. Everybody listening right now, call to 5 to 6 people that you know to come out to hear both meetings, Monday and Tuesday. Our meetings that we do around the world are life-changing. You know, if you're in a spot or a situation you don't want to be in, change it. And it begins by accepting God as your personal Savior, and then it begins by following what He has for you. And I believe that hearing the messages that I'm going to give and the talks that I'm going to give, it's going to change your life. So you got to remember, you can change your life. Even if you can't make it, you can change your life by taking that challenge of calling 5 or 6 people and saying, hey, you need to hear this guy. So I challenge you.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for joining me here in studio, Sam Childers. Look forward to, I'll be there both Monday and Tuesday night. So I look forward to, my life changing. And that's why we call the record label that we work with Global Change Music.
Wow.
Van founded this record label, nonprofit record label. All of the musicians are not just musicians, but change agents and people who have, want to put their butts on the line in changing their own lives in order to bring greater change to the world. So that's what Global Change Music is all about. And I'm going to leave you with some Global Change music right now. And thank you again, Sam Childers.
All right.